We are seeing great football on every field, every week, on the Road of Champions. Welcome to the Road to Champions. I'm your host, Brian Sweeney, the voice of the Women's Football Alliance Pro Division National Championship game. Alex is back with me in studio this week, and we've made it to week 4 of the regular season and 50 episodes in the Road to Canton Road of Champions series. Thank you for all your support during our first 50 episodes. Here are some of the greatest touchdowns to look back on. When we come back, we will check out the scores and highlights from week 3. With 3 weeks in the stat sheets, some teams are already playing in postseason form, while others are still looking for help. Let's look now at the week 3 scores and highlights. The Houston Energy continued to dominate in the state of Texas when they welcomed the Austin Outlaws for their home opener and showed the Energy's dominance on the field, blanking the Outlaws 57-0. The Nevada Storm were glad to be back at home when they welcomed the Capital Pioneers. After last week's loss, the Storm were quick to rebound and picked up their second win of the season, final score 49-0. And the Pittsburgh Passion met new in-state rivals, the Philly Phantoms, for the first time and managed to do what Virginia and DC have already done this season, keep the Phantoms off the board. Final score, Passion on top, 62-0. And in the first of the 3 games of the week on the All-Women's Sports Network. In the early game, the DC Divas kicked off their 25th season at home when they welcomed the Tampa Bay Inferno. The first half of this game was back and forth, but in the end, it was Dana Blakey that helped to open up the scoring and keep the Divas undefeated with a 38-28 win over the Inferno. Alex, DC is showing us that in their 25th season, this very well may be the year that they make it back to the national championship. Your thoughts on this game?
Well, I think the first thing with this game is you look at how Tampa Bay showed up on the road. You don't necessarily know what you're going to see when you see Tampa on the road, but they had a good performance in the Beltway area, much as Boston did when they were part of the WFA, where you were able to put some points up against a pretty good DC Divas defensive unit. I really liked what I saw out of them on the field in the Beltway area. Now, for DC, on the other hand, again, this is a team that's really performing at championship level of football. Yes, their matchups with Pittsburgh will be a significant factor in who is able to be that team that represents the national over there in Canton, Ohio. But you really like just how well Amanda Congialdi is playing at quarterback. There have been times where she's been game managers. There's been times where she's been stat padding, for lack of a better word, for the course of the regular season and in those garbage time moments. But that's not been the case for her this season. She's been playing really, really well. She's getting great help around her. And this DC team could be legit in that national conference.
And in the second game of the week, the Minnesota Vixen took to the road for the first time in 2025 when they went into St. Louis looking for a win against the 2024 national champions. At the half, it was looking like Minnesota could get their first ever win in St. Louis as they went into the locker room with the lead. In the second half, however, St. Louis stopped the Minnesota run game, and even after recovering an onside kick, Minnesota stalled out at the 50-yard line as time was expiring. St. Louis, in the end, came out on top, and in doing so, kept their winning streak alive. Final score, 34-27. These teams will meet again May 31st in Minnesota. Alex, in the second half of this game, the St. Louis Slam pretty much stopped the Minnesota run game, and Jamie Gall is already playing in postseason form. your thoughts on this matchup.
Well, I think that the first takeaway I have from this matchup, it goes back to what was said on the Livestream STL broadcast, where they were critical about a certain organization that had put the St. Louis Slam at 5th. If there was any team and any program that's doing that, it's not this one. We've said since St. Louis beat Boston last year, beat them twice, we said that they're the team to beat in the WFA. With that being said, this now looks like, again, another championship caliber team. St. Louis and Minnesota will always be judged on how they play themselves. This case is no different. Yes, there was a little bit of a slow start from what I expected to see by St. Louis in their offense, but by the time that third quarter started, they really had their stuff figured out. It wasn't just that Jamie Gall was attacking a Minnesota secondary that she has historically had success against, but you talk about in terms of what that game meant to her. Having lost her grandmother earlier on in the week, that's a significant way to be able to play and to play with some motivation. And Jamie Gall, again, looks like she's in that consideration for American Conference Player of the Year, especially on the offensive side this year. And St. Louis, again, looks like the team to beat out in the western side of the Pro Division. But that being said, this opens up the door a little bit for Minnesota, where when we see these games in Minnesota and in St. Louis, that you don't necessarily expect for that door to be open, but because you let Minnesota get back into that game, all of a sudden now, if Minnesota runs the table because of their strength of schedule, and you have a really good showing in the reverse matchup here in Minnesota in that game, all of a sudden that door for home field is wide open. Because you have that opportunity now with St. Louis, a weaker strength of schedule. If you, and it would have to be multiple touchdowns. If you're Minnesota and you can play a multiple touchdown lead against St. Louis at home, well, all of a sudden St. Louis is vulnerable. And all that it takes in that one game playoff situation is that vulnerability. And we know that Connor Joe Lewis and the Minnesota Vixen are not shy of taking big chances and big opportunities. Now it's just, can they pay off in the long run?
We will be right back to look at the third and final game of the week. And in the third game of the week, after playing their first two games of 2025 on the road, the Cali War welcomed the Mile High Blaze. In the first half, both teams started slow, but in the end, it was the War coming out on top and avenging last season's loss, 40-12. Alex, after an opening season loss, Cali is now 2-1. How many more wins can they get this season, and is it too late for Mile High to turn their season around?
Well, I think that's where it starts with Mile High. There are good players, there are talented players in that locker room, but they just have not been able to put it together no matter whom they've played. In a competitive American Conference, you don't want to say your season's over when you're not even halfway through, but at this point, your season's over. There's just not enough room for error left for Mile High with how good the rest of the American Conference has been. Meanwhile, for the Cali War, they continue to bounce back. They continue to play some really good football following that loss to the Nevada Storm to start their 2025 campaign. You beat a Division III team very handily when Brianna Barrett goes off for 8 touchdowns. Barrett had another great touchdown, that beautiful one-handed receiving backwards catch that she had in this game against Mile High. There's some really good stuff happening with the Cali War, and it feels like they're starting to get back to form. The big question again with the Cali War, and we saw it when we were there a couple of years ago, who plays quarterback? You have Chantel Wiggins, who does a great job. You have Tanya Guzman, who does a great job as well. And you have Mo Etchen, who came over from the Nevada Storm. All of them good quarterbacks. Somebody has to take the reins and be that person to lead that offense back to victory.
Now let's look at the Week 4 matchups. The 0-2 Mile High Blaze welcome the 1-1 New Mexico Bonitas of Division II. This is the only non-pro game matchup of the season for the Blaze, and a crucial game for them to win. The last time these teams met was in 2023, with New Mexico coming out on top. The 0-2 Austin Outlaws are on the road to play the 0-2 Dallas Elite Mustangs. Both of these teams need big wins this week and again in 2 weeks when they will meet again in Austin. Last season, Dallas came out on top in the only meeting 26-3. After a week off, the 1-1 Nebraska Pride welcomed the 2-0 Houston Energy to the Pride's first game at home since winning the Division II championship in 2024. Houston is looking to remain in the playoff talks for the Pro Division, and the Pride are excited to play at home for the first time this season. The 2-1 Cali War are at home for the second straight week, this time when they host the 2-1 Nevada Storm. This will be the second meeting of the season for these teams that squared off in Nevada during week 1 when the Storm came out on top 30-24. For both of these teams, a loss could mean missing the playoffs at the end of June. Alex, week 4 is the midway point in the season. How would you grade these teams so far in their midterm?
Well, I think true to form here in academia, thinking about how these teams have gone this season, there's a lot of things that I look at and I say there are teams that get A's. You look at your Pittsburghs, your DCs, your Minnesotas, your St. Louis's, your Calis to an extent, your Nevadas as well. But you look at them, that great wide middle, especially in the American Conference, where you have a Nevada team that, yes, has shown good, but yes, has shown bad as well, losing to a Division II team by a non-competitive margin. Then you have a Mile High team where you could look at them and you could give them a D because the talent is there, but again, it hasn't gotten the results. And then you look at teams like the Philly Phantoms. We said in week 1 we didn't know what we were going to get out of Philly. So far, they have a combined 0 points through 3 games. Regardless of not having played your entire season last.
Good afternoon, football fans. Welcome to Spring Lake High School here in Spring Lake Park, Minnesota, the new home for Minnesota Minx football. I'm Hunter Pinky, sports director here at Hastings Community Television. I'll be on the call for this afternoon's action. Should have a good one today, folks. The Minnesota Minx come in with a 1-1 record. The Oklahoma Rage, one of the top Division III teams, comes in with a 2-0 record. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Here's a good look at your Minnesota Minx. And starting talking about the Minx, here's a look at their schedule so far. They're coming up. They started the season with a 30-0 loss against Sioux Falls, who's having a fantastic season so far. And then they managed to rally back with a 20-0 win against what would be a super strong Midwest Mountain Lions team from a year ago. And then upcoming, they have the Rage today, later Iowa Phoenix, Mountain Lions, and then they'll take on the Cedar Raptors once again. Taking a look at the Oklahoma Rage schedule, they're starting off 2-0. Big victory against the Austin Outlaws back on May 3rd with a 31-0 victory, and then they came off a tight victory against the Rocky Mountain Thundercats, who are also a top competitor in Division III football. Then obviously today here they're at the Minx, and then they'll play host to the Cedar Raptors, one of the newer teams in Division III football. Then we'll have a home date against Austin, and then the Iowa Phoenix, who's historically have also been a powerhouse in Division III football. And speaking of Division III, let's take a look at the top 10 in the Division III American Conference. Oklahoma Rage sitting at the top, 2-0. Minnesota Minx near the bottom, but still in that top 10 with a 1-1 record. And obviously calculations with the Massey ratings and stuff like that affect, as you can kind of see, the record disparity. Minx are now in the 4th season as a program. This is officially our 3rd season covering them on HCTV Sports. So happy to be back here. They started off as a development team about 4 years ago, only played 2 games, and I believe they split it back there. Here's a good look. You can see on the right of your screen, that's the new Minnesota Minx head coach, Jody Moose Rylander, the legendary former Minnesota Vixen, and she was my broadcast partner a season ago. We had the pleasure to call Minnesota Vixen versus the Mile High Blaze in a playoff game from North St. Paul High School, and she's done a very nice job with this program, taking over for Coach Palmer a season ago. So we're set for kickoff here from Spring Lake Park High School. Thanks for joining us here, everybody, on YouTube. Don't forget to let us know where you're watching, who you're rooting for, as this will be Mel Hopkins on the kicking duties. That was a short kick, and the Oklahoma Rage are going to have to cover it really quickly. That was number 10, Rachel Stinson, the cornerback out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Also, just before we get into our broadcast, just want to give everyone a heads up. I'm kind of doing quadruple duty today. I'm switching the cameras, doing the replay, graphics, all of that. So bear with me if I'm a little slow talking about plays and getting names and numbers. So doing triple duty today. So just bear with me here a little bit. So first down here. Be a handoff up the middle and just plowing through for a few are the Rage. That is number 33 on the carry, Katie Sorensen. So that'll bring up a second down. Another handoff, no, quarterback keeper. She'll keep it, number 3, running it up near the sideline. And a good stoppage there by the Minks defensively. That was number 3, Courtney Eldridge, the quarterback out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, on the carry. Nice defensive stop here for the Minks early on in this game. And that'll set up a big third down. Minks so far holding strong. And we talked about Moose Rylander a little bit earlier this afternoon, and she actually is also the defensive coordinator as well for the Minks, so bringing her inside as well on both sides of the ball. So third down. Snap, looking to pass. Eldridge throws it out in the flat, and a good hit by the corner back for the Minks. Longtime player J.C. Otterson, linebacker out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, with a nice stop defensively. Let's take a look back on it on the replay here. So third down. Snap, looking to pass. Eldridge did a nice job dumping it out in the flat, but Otterson was right there to break up the play. So talk about a great start for the Minnesota Minks. It's Otterson, excuse me. I said Otterson, or Otterness, or something. I said it incorrectly there. Now, as always, if you're watching on YouTube, please let me know if I'm pronouncing anything wrong. Want to make sure we get this right, as the kick is away. Minks will have to be careful didn't touch anyone, as that one will be downed by the Rage near the 36-yard line. So we'll get to see what the Minnesota Minks offense has for the first time this afternoon. They are led by quarterback Madison Hahn, former Minnesota Vixen, now quarterback for the Minks. Good shot of the Minks huddle on your screen. Oklahoma Rage are led by head coach Brandon Webb. Try to get a shot of him at some point during the broadcast. As we're set for first down. 12:42 to go in the quarter. So here's the play. Be a handoff. Found a gap and a big hit by Oklahoma on the back end. That'll bring up second down.
One play for number 21.
That was number 21 on the carry, Anthena Hurd.
It will be 2nd and 8.
Set up a 2nd and 8. So 2nd and 8 for the Minnesota Minx. 2 in the backfield. Hahn will give it to her wide receiver again and gets to the line of scrimmage and maybe gets one with some extra effort. But that will set up another big 3rd down. Let's take a look back at it. Again, great play design there. Just the Oklahoma Rage did a nice job reading it, but she fought through a lot of tackles there. That was Hurd on the carry once again, one of the captains for this Minx squad. So big 3rd down here, kind of out of that 3 in the backfield. Hahn will take it under center, hands it off, looking to bounce it outside, and will be taken down at the 40-yard line. Good defensive play by the Rage. And unfortunately for the Minx, they'll have to punt it away. That was number 1, Yoshi Childress, on the carry. Here's a look back at that last run. Again, creative play designed to run it, but unfortunately just a good read by Oklahoma as it'll set up the punt. Madison Hahn also doing the punt. She'll get a pretty decent one away. Doesn't travel too far. A lot of high angles. That's corralled by number 15 for the Rage. Takes it across the 50. Now at the 40 and will be pushed out of bounds. That is number 15, Amy Moran, out of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. So we'll get to see what the Rage have on offense for their 2nd drive. Obviously, one thing the Minx pride themselves on is their tough defense. Rylander being strong defensive mind. She was also the defensive coordinator for the Cretin-Durham Hall football team, one of the bigger names here in Minnesota.
Let's go, Big Mo, let's go. Let's go, dude.
So big 1st down here out of the gun. Takes a snap, looking to pass. Pressure by the Minx, will have to get it away and gets it over the middle, but a great tackle by J.C. Otterson once again. Another big play. She's playing on fire so far in the early stages. Let's take a look back at it. Again, great job by the Minx to get that pressure. And then Otterson just there to break up the play. So great start on defense. So we'll set up a 2nd in a medium. Again, other thing too, just to talk about, our score bot that pulls data from the scoreboard unfortunately went out today. So I will be doing everything manual, so just bear with me as well, as there's a run on the outside. Another good stop by the Minx. They are looking good on defense here in the early stages. That was number 5, Jamie Karshbaum, with a loss of 1 on the carry. Mike Peden doing the PA duties, announcer in the metro area, one of the best to do it, as again, just great read by the Minx as we set up for another big 3rd down. Once again, if you're watching on YouTube, don't be afraid to let us know where you're watching from. Looking to pass. Pressure getting there, little floater, and that'll be incomplete. Number 33 was the intended target. That is Katie Sorensen out of Collinsville, Oklahoma. So that'll set up an interesting situation here for Oklahoma. 4th down in Minx territory. Thinking they're going to go for it here. Maybe they'll punt. We'll have to see. So they will come out in the gun here. Looking to pass. Looking to pass. Looking for a receiver. Steps up in the pocket. Rolling out. Looking for somewhere to go. And nearly intercepted. But talk about a hot start by the Minnesota Minx. And unfortunately, we have a Rage player down on the field. So they'll take their time. Look at her, but Courtney Eldridge has done a nice job at the quarterback position, buying time. Fortunately, just couldn't get that to go. Let's take a look at that last play and see what happened here. You can see buying time, steps up in the pocket, gets the throw away. Just a collision towards the back. Two Rage players kind of ran into each other, and unfortunately, never something you don't like to see. Looked like there was some contact to the head or neck area. And we hope she's okay. Never want to speculate on the severity or anything like that. As she continues to get worked on. And it looks like she's up. That is actually number 2, Shavonna Rucker, the running back out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, Northeastern State. So she is up on her feet, which is good to see. Needing some assistance to get off the field, but glad to see she's up on her feet. I also want to say hi to 3 Pete Films on YouTube who say, "Go Rage."
On the last play,
So good to see you in the comments here. As well, if you're a fan of WFA football, the Minnesota Vixen, the sister squad, one of the first partnerships of its kind, they are set to kick off today from 6 p.m. at Edina, Minnesota, Coleman Field. If you don't know a little bit about me, I happened by circumstance to be the voice for Minnesota Vixen football for 3 games a season ago. So been following WFA football for about 6 years now. And it's been an awesome sport to see grow. Minnesota having 2 teams now. Teams from Oklahoma making their way up. And it's been an awesome experience. As we await the whistle, Madison Hahn bringing in the play. So second drive for the Minnesota Minks. We'll see what they can do coming out of a I formation. And it looked like a Rage player jumped, so we're going to get some laundry on the field. Oh, they're going to give it a false start on Minnesota. I thought Nicole Ingram jumped first. Let's take a look and see who moved.
replay first down. We'll make it 1st and 15 from the 29-yard line.
Yep, it was on the top side of your screen. Apologize, can't get the number. Calling it off a tiny monitor. So here's the first play, handoff. Find some space for medium gain. That's number 31 on the carry. Catherine Ghana, the running back out of Inver Grove Heights, Minnesota.
Number 31, Catherine Ghana, tackled by Oklahoma's number 11, Jasmine Crisp.
It was number 11, Jasmine Crisp, on the tackle for the Rage.
It is 2nd and 12 at the 32-yard line.
So Minx heavily relying on the running game. Season stats in the passing game, though, for Madison Hahn. She's 10 for 24, 2 touchdowns and a pick a week ago, as that carry goes for a medium game. Starting to get close to the original line of scrimmage.
Run play for number 31, Catherine Ghana.
Ghana on the carry once again. Fortunately, going to set up a 3rd and long. So Minx going to need a big chunk play here.
10 at the 34-yard line.
So it'll be 3rd and long for the Minx. As we approach 7:15 on the clock. Moving pretty quickly, this game is. It's a big 3rd down. So that bunch formation once again. Play action. Hahn's going to roll out, looking for a receiver. Found her tight end, caught over the middle, and bulldozes her way near the 1st down, but is going to be a little bit short. So we'll have to see what they do here. But the big tight end, Julie 23, making her presence known early Let's take a look back at that play, and great play design by the offensive coordinator of the Minks, and great job by 23 to get up there and just a little short of the first down. So we'll see if they decide to go for it here. Here's a good shot of 23, wearing the pink sleeves and the pink uniforms, and they're going to quarterback sneak it. Is she going to get there? No, it looked like she is going to be short. So that'll be a turnover on downs. But talk about tough sledding for both teams early on in this game. Let's take a look back at it here. Again, you'll kind of see Hahn under center looking to get a push, but Oklahoma just broke through the line of scrimmage and managed to pull her back. There was some space for her to get through, but unfortunately just could not find it. Good look at the Minnesota Minx defense, as we'll now see the offense of Oklahoma for the third time. So very low scoring affair early on in the game. So out of the pistol, sends one man in motion. Eldridge will hand it off up the middle, some space, but quickly closed by that Minx defensive line, and they're playing stout on the front 7 there.
Run play for number 22, Q Simmons.
That handoff was to Keyshawn Simmons, the running back out of Tulsa, Oral Roberts University. There's a good look at the football and the line of scrimmage. Both teams playing incredibly tough football here. They're going to keep it out of the gun. Takes the snap, will pull it down, looking to pass, has a receiver out in the flat. Now quickly having to scramble. Minks are getting there, and she's going to have to just run out of bounds, but she will get pushed out of bounds first. That was number 54 for the Minnesota Minx, Rebecca Fulmer. Let's take a look back at it. And again, she's doing a nice job at quarterback buying time, but the Minx defense is playing great in coverage. Take a look, just collapsed. And then in pursuit, just gets shoved out of bounds. And unfortunately for Oklahoma, not able to get anything going, and will set up a big third down opportunity here with 4:52 to go in the first quarter. If you're new to WFA football, they do play by college rules, 15 minutes. If they make a diving play, they are down by contact. Now looking to pass. Looking to buy time, chucking it deep. And that's going to sail to no one. And that will set up another 3 and out for the Oklahoma Rage, and so far very tight defense by the Minx as you get a good look at Otterson, who's been playing very well. She is one of the key pieces of this Minnesota Minx team. She's been here since the beginning. Ever since a dev team, they started off playing 2 games, then they moved to 4, and ever since they moved fully to Division 3, they've been playing the full 6-game schedule. As the punt is nearly blocked, that's going to roll and was fielded by Karshbaum, but again, that is a play you got to be a little careful of. If you accidentally touch it, the Oklahoma Rage can easily make a play and take it into their territory. There's a flag on the field. Fortunately, I did not see what happened. Roughing the kicker on the Minx. That is a running into the kicker. So the penalty will be declined because they are in tough field position. So thankfully, it's not a roughing the kicker. That would be a free first down. Running into the kicker is only a 5-yard penalty or a re-kick. So definitely better than that roughing call. If you get contact on the football, it will negate, typically will negate penalties like that. due to the contact, and it shows you actually made an effort to block the football. So let's see the Minks for the third time on offense today. Hahn under center. And botched snap, and Hahn's going to have to quickly cover it. Fortunately, a bad start for the Minnesota Minks. Both teams struggling on offense, and it's looking like today it's going to be a battle of field position. Who can get down there and score first?
2nd and 12 at the 12-yard line.
Back out of the eye, second down. Hahn will hand it off, looking to sneak through the hole, but nowhere to go. Good defense by the Rage. That was number 1, Yoshi Childress on the carry.
One play for Minnesota's number 1, Yoshi Childress, tackled by a host of Oklahoma players.
Captains for the Minnesota Minks are Bomber Karshbaum, Madison Hahn, and Thena Hurd, J.C. Otterson, and Mallory Breakmeyer. Again, you can see that big captain's patch on the upper left side of the jersey. Looking to hand it off once again and nowhere to go, and quickly stuffed, and that's going to be another Minnesota Minks punt from almost their own end zone. So Madison Hahn's going to have some work to do. She's going to need a good punt.
One play for number 91, Diamond Miller.
So far, again, it's kind of the tail of the game. Actually, no, they're going to have Hopkins take it. We saw, there's a good look at Moose Rylander once again, but they're going to have Mel Hopkins take it. Mel Hopkins, he listed as a running back, but she also does a majority of the kicking duties. So big fourth down. Trying to get some late subs on the field as we approach 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. So looking to get the punt away. That's a lot better. Hit that hitter if the Minks can cover. Oh, that was definitely dangerous territory right there.
Punt from number 33, Mel Hopkins, fielded by number 15, Amy Moran. Her knee was down, so that
Yeah, definitely hit her. So if the Minks were able to cover there, would have been a turnover. But luckily for the Rage, they do maintain possession. As you get a look at number 15, Amy Moran. Fortunately, had some trouble with it, but Oklahoma still in prime field position. Again, got to get the offense going here. Slowly been able to inch their way through with a couple of good punts, but so far the offense has not been working for either team. Eldridge will hand it off. Finally, they find some space, but quickly wrapped up for a gain of about 5.
One play for number 2, Shavonna Rucker, tackled by number 54, Rebecca Palmer, for a gain of 3.
Well, actually ruling gain of 3. So that was Shavonna Rucker.
2nd and 6 at the 28-yard line.
Set up a second and about 7. So out of the gun once again, Eldridge waits the snap. Will pitch it. That might be forward. It's a pass, a lot of space. Gets a first down and is tackled near the 20. So great play design by the Rage as we finally get a first down.
A pitch to number 2, Shavonna Rucker, tackled by
Yeah,
number
that
54, Rebecca
be interesting to see if they score that a run or a pass, but a great play design for Rucker as they finally get a good chunk play and take it into the Minx territory. As we are officially under 40 seconds here in the first quarter. Good look at the offensive line. Longtime Minx player Claire Romey in the middle on the D-line. Looking to pass, Now we'll have to quickly get away. Tried to set up the screen, but pass will fall short of number 23 for the Rage. That is Vanessa Bledsoe.
Passing play intended for number 23, Vanessa Bledsoe, is incomplete. It is second down and 10 at the 20-yard line.
So set up a second down, but my guess is they are just going to, well, no, because the incomplete, 20 seconds on the clock. Thank you to everyone commenting on YouTube. I'll try to get to them in a little bit here. Looking to pass. Eldridge has time, steps up in the pocket for the end zone, has a step, and that's behind her. There's a little bit of contact, but luckily for the Minx, there was that pass was nowhere near the intended target. So that'll set up a third down here. I'm liking the passing decision here from the Rage. So far, they're just having trouble getting receivers open, but Eldridge all game has done a very nice job buying time, just needing some help on the back end. So out of the gun on third down. Again, quarterback keeper, contact by the Minx, looking to get it off and broken up by number 22 of the Minx, Rashaw, out of St. Cloud, Minnesota. Making her presence known.
27 Rose is broken up by Minnesota's number 22, Jayla Rashaw.
See, take a look here. Stepped up, bought some time. Again, just good job being there, making contact. It could have been a little bit close. You know, you got to make sure you're not making contact before they touch the football, but regardless, nice play here as we are at 5.7 seconds on the clock. So last play here, fourth down. Looking to pass over the middle, and that's a first down. And that's how we will end the first quarter. But before we send it to a quarter break, let's take a look back. And very nice pass play, and they finally found a target over the middle. Otterson just couldn't close the gap with another defender there, and that's how we're going to take it to the end of quarter number one. Thanks for joining us, everybody. You're watching Minnesota Minx and Oklahoma Rage football here on HCTV Sports. We'll take a short break, and don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
But here is the difference for the class of 1990.
We went from Mom Pie Eagles to Alan Peck.
I know you're all excited about Y2K. You could lose power or party like it's 1999.
Hastings High School has been graduating center since the first commencement
Congratulations, class of 2023. Go Raiders!
Funding for community TV is in rapid decline, and HCTV will not survive without your help. Let your local representatives know that you support community TV. To learn more, visit savecommunitytv.com.
Welcome back to Spring Lake Park High School here in Spring Lake Park, Minnesota. Hunter Pinky on the call for this afternoon's football game, or this evening's football game, as I should say. The Oklahoma Rage finally getting a sustained drive going here in the late stages with a couple of nice passes by the quarterback, and now in the red zone looking to get some damage done. So here we go, out of the eye. Handoff up the middle. Minx D-line holding strong, but getting a good push. Wow, all the way down to the 3-yard line. So a great run there by Oklahoma. Let's take a look here again. It's cut inside, and it looked like they had him almost dead to rights, but just kept pushing the pile.
Run play for number 22.
So we got a whistle here.
pull off Andrew Donner for a gain of 6.
As number 79 is checking out, that is Emily Daw. Looks like she might be holding her wrist or her hand, maybe her chest. So we'll have an injury check out here. So the clock will stop. 14:22 to go here. As this will be a big second down here for the Minks. Looks like they'll have them set up near the 4 or 5 yard line. So here we go. Big opportunity here for the Rage, now under center. Making some line adjustments is the quarterback, Courtney Eldridge. Crowd making a lot of noise here for this second down. Handoff, big hole, and closed quickly by the Minx defensive line. Let's take a look back on the replay here again. Looked like she had a walk-in touchdown, but the Minx quickly closing up that hole. Plethora of defenders there, and will set up a big third down. Good crowd in attendance here, pretty spread out from Spring Lake Park High School as we get set for a big third down here. Minnesota Minx looking to get a big stop here. Third down and short. Out of the gun. Pitch outside. Minx going to need to close quickly, and she is short at the 1 yard line. All right, let's see what the Minnesota Minx have here defensively. Let's take a look back on it. Well, actually won't have that one, unfortunately. Again, another big fourth down here for Minnesota. Oklahoma looking to break the scoreless streak. Again, they're coming off a 12-6 victory over the Rocky Mountain Thundercats. So, low-scoring game in that affair, too, looking to change their fortune here. So, big fourth down. Snap. Quarterback keeper, and she's in for the touchdown. But there is a flag on the play, so let's see what the call is here. So it's an offside call on the Minnesota Vixen here, or Minx, excuse me. So the touchdown will be good. It'll be number 77, Lacey Womer, doing the kicking duties for the Rage. Kick is down and nearly blocked. I believe that was blocked. So first, let's take a look back at that touchdown, and then we'll take a look at the extra point. So here's a look at the touchdown. Again, good play design, just sneaks her way into the end zone for our first touchdown of the game. Now we'll take a look here at the extra point. Snap is down, just great penetration and diving through to block that extra point. So, fortunately for the Minnesota Minx, they'll be playing from behind here. But that blocked extra point could come back and matter later in the game. As you can see, quarterback Madison Hahn, left side of your screen, looking for a way to get her offense started. So far, Oklahoma, that drive was key, having that great field position. Managed to finally string together some pass plays. But now the Minnesota Minx looking to respond. So set to kick it away here. And little pooch kick there, but quickly covered by the Minnesota Minx. That was number 11 there, Everett Flynn, the linebacker out of Chisago, Minnesota. Also, I like to do a little uniform talks on my sports broadcast, wearing the gray helmets, black pants, gray numbers are the Oklahoma Rage. Liking the helmets. Minnesota Minx getting brand new uniforms this year. Kind of got that. Here's a good look at the bench. The gray piping around the collar. Now that blue trim and the white numbers changed. So good looking updates. They've got the Minnesota flag on the arm sleeve. Minx logo on the other arm sleeve, so looking good with the new updates. I will say their jerseys last year were very Oakland Raiders, all black with silver reflective numbers. So those were very hard to see as we're set for first down, I formation, and almost jumped was a Rage player. Pitch outside and immediately stuffed. And immediately nowhere to go. That was... believe that was Nicole Ingram. So it'll be a loss of 4. Good look at the coaching staff for the Rage. As we're set for second down, Minx needing a big play here for second and long. Little pitch in the backfield, nowhere to go again. Rage reading it immediately. That was number 34 in on the tackle. So that'll set up another third and long for the Minx, and so far these pitches are not working. Good look at the huddle for the Minx. Honestly, for me as a broadcaster, I definitely think they need to try to get the pass going. Their biggest play of the afternoon was on a play-action pass, Madeline Honda, Julie 23, and I think they're going to need to do that to start getting this offense rolling. Because so far their defense is playing excellent. Just unfortunately, field position got the better of them. Hahn kind of jammed up, and she's going to be sacked and fumbled. But they're going to call her down by contact, and I believe that is the right call. Let's take a look back at it. Again, just kind of got tied up by Diamonds Miller there, and the ground can't force a fumble, so she will be down by contact. So that was the correct call by the official. So we'll get set for another Minx punt. Hopkins back out there for the kicking duties. Overall, like I said, I like what I'm seeing from the Minnesota Minx. Definitely seeing a lot of improvement from the season ago. Just so far offensively unable to get stuff going, and that's blocked. That's blocked by the Rage, and they're going to cover quickly. She picked it up and down near the 15-yard line. And right as I say that, unfortunately for the Minx, another big play by the Rage. And that'll put them in tough field position once again. Let's take a look back on it. Here it is. Just got through and right into, that was number 11 with the block. That would be Jasmine Crisp. Again, so far the Rage now in excellent field position once again. So Minx defense going to need to come up big here. Once again, out of the gun, quarterback Eldridge takes a snap. Play action pass. Has a receiver, open lane. And she'll be in for the fumble at the goal line. But that might be called a touchdown. She fumbled right at the line of scrimmage. Be interesting to see what they call. Believe they're going to call her down at the 1. Let's see what we've got here. She might have been that might be a touchdown. And they did call it a touchdown officially on the scoreboard. So we will get the extra point here. Once again, doing the kicking duties, number 77, Lacey Wolmer. Kick is down, and this time it's going to go off the lower bar. And unfortunately, does not get that extra point to go. But the Oklahoma Rage capitalized quickly on a turnover by the Minnesota Minx. Let's take a look back at it. Nice play action. Play design set open on a little natural screen. Pick play. Nice pass to Sarah Rose. And she'll take it in for the touchdown. And now the Minx down 2 scores, really needing to get the offense going. So Minx down big here. Down 2 scores, so pretty manageable here with only 10:13 to go in quarter number 2. Once again, thank you to all of us commenting on YouTube. Anna, Brian, Camelia, Rachel, Arne, Brian, Kim, Watts. I can't read your name, apologize. Thank you all for tuning in with us. Obviously, we're going to be a little more, since this is a Minx broadcast, we'll be a little more favored towards the Minx here, but we always want to make a enjoyable broadcast for the away crowd as well. As another little squibber, Minx will quickly cover it, and another kind of quick kick, if you would. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, nice little quick kick. They're trying to steal a possession, but so far Minnesota's done a really nice job corralling those. So Minx gonna need a big drive here. So far the running game not working. We'll have to see what they will want to do on offense. Offensive coordinator for the Minx is Kenzie Riley, also the quarterback's coach. See Coach Rylander talking to her defense as we get set for first down. Will hand it off and runs right up the line of scrimmage, but nowhere to go on the carry was Yoshi Childress once again. Will set up a 2nd and 10. Good look at Childress on your screen. And you might notice, too, on a few players, as she takes a knee, she might be looking for some help. She'll take the slow check off the field. So that'll be number 31, Catherine Ghana, will check in out of Inver Grove Heights, Minnesota, St. Paul College. So far, things on the running department not going too well. But you might notice some of the helmets look a little bigger than the others. Few players on the squad wearing the Guardian caps to help protect from concussions. As handoff, looking to bounce it inside, looking for a move, but quickly closed up by the Rage. As that was number 21, Anthena Hurd on the carry. Unfortunately, nowhere to go. Again, nice job finding some space, but unfortunately the Rage quickly able to cover. As we're set for another 3rd and long. So far, only one pass attempt from the Minks, and this is going to be our first look out of the gun. So one back in the backfield. Hahn waits the snap. Will hand it off. And nowhere to go, and dropped immediately by number 18 of the Rage. That would be Dominique Jones. And that was number 31 on the carry, Ghana, and that's going to force another Minnesota Minx punt. Again, their first look out of the gun. Nice. I like that they're showing different looks, but so far, again, when you're only running the ball, it makes your offense a little bit too linear. And so far, Oklahoma's doing a nice job getting a read on it, and we're going to have another punt. This time, hoping to get this one away. This time she does, and it's going to take a decent roll out past the 30, and that one is touched. But finds some space on the outside, and will take it near the 50-yard line. Another dangerous situation. So far, having some issues corralling these punts. It's touched there. And again, found some space on the edge, but quickly has to get outside. That was Khalil Berryhill on the return. So another drive here for the Rage. This will be their longest drive since the first quarter. Or more, I should say, most field they have to travel. Quick screen and dropped by number 20, Sarah Rose. But the Minx read that beautifully, quickly making the contact. That was number 5 on the hit. That is Jamie Karshbaum. Very nice job breaking that up. Here's a look back at it quickly. Yeah, nice design play, and just virtually got a little ahead of herself, but then number 5, Cashbaum, was right there to make the play. So would have been tough regardless, as looking to pass again, going deep, has a step, and too far overthrown the intended target once again. That was number 20, Sarah Rose. So quickly third down here for the Rage. Another big third down here for the Minx. And again, I've kind of been ringing the bell a lot, but Minx defense playing extremely well. Just unfortunately, especially in these longer yardage situations, having to drive the field. Oklahoma has not been able to drive the field super well. Their 2 scores have come within starting their drive within the 30 of the Minnesota Minx. So we'll see if they can change that card right here. Big third down out of the gun. Eldridge looking to pass. Quick pressure, gets it out. Has a space and gets the tackle, and right at the line of scrimmage. But I believe she picked up the first down. Again, number 20, Sarah Rose, their main weapon at wide receiver. Depends where that ball is, and I think she picked up that first down, and they do move the chains. So a big conversion there for the Rage. The passing game working very well so far. Big first down. Handoff up the middle and quickly tripped up. That was number 22 on the carry. Keyshawn Simmons. Again, found a quick hole to shoot through, but nice tackle by number 56 of the Minx, making a nice play to trip her up. That was Marilyn Conyers. I believe that was number 56. So second down. About 6 minutes to go. As we're going to get a first timeout.
Oklahoma, this is their first timeout.
This will be a timeout by Oklahoma.
Vixen, Hastings Community TV is a public access station that has served the great city of Hastings.
So good look at the Oklahoma Rage again. So far, this game feels a lot closer than the scoreboard indicates. Again, both teams playing very well on the defensive side of the ball. Oklahoma finally starting to get things going offensively in the passing game. Running game's still been a little hit or miss. Found a few holes here and there, but honestly, very competitive game. Especially, this is a huge step up for the Minnesota Minks, who came off a few tough losses a season ago, but they've really built back nicely. Good look at the Minnesota Minks, and again, they've been so accommodating to us at HCTV. A big mission of ours is, again, I've been working women's football for 6 years. This is my 3rd season covering the Minnesota Minks, so it's always been a big part of my mission as a broadcaster. So they've done an awesome job welcoming us, and it's been great to be a partner of both the Minks, WFA, Division III. So here's second down, looking to throw it away, trying to sell a flag was number 23, Vanessa Bledsoe. Pass was nowhere near the intended target. So it will remain a third down, or will move to third down. But again, they've just been a great supporter of HCTV, and for those not in our area, just like to talk about a little bit. PEG funding. We are a community TV station, a nonprofit station who covers these games we've been covering them for free and supporting women's football. Touch more after this big third down. Play action. Pressure in the face. Picked off. That is picked off by Otterson. And that's what the Minnesota Minks needed. Big play defensively. Let's take a look back on it on replay here. Again, a great play design. Play fake there, and then just came crashing over the middle was Otterson. The big pick, and sets up huge momentum swing for the Minnesota Minks. And again, that's why she's a captain. That's why she's honestly the most important part of that defense, in my opinion. There's a lot of good players on this Minks defense, but consistently the past few years, she's been the name we've been calling constantly, and she's coming up big there. Out of the gun, Madison Hahn, low snap, looking to pass, and that one's caught. Big play, first down, and that's what you needed, Minnesota. That was number 21 on the reception. Hurd. And there's an injury down on the field. Let's take a look back at that last play. Finally, they got a big play working. Just over the passing game. Tight window, too, to get that. Great accuracy from Madison Hahn, the quarterback. But again, just kind of what I was talking about, PEG funding is continuing to decline. Like I said, we do a lot of these games for free. You know, people are cutting cable every day. We're working on getting legislation that's going to get passed to help stop the bleeding and hopefully fund us for the future. So if you want to help us stay on the air, you can help Hastings TV specifically by going to hastingstv.org/donate. But if you want to help community media in general, please visit savecommunitytv.com. Handoff. Spin move gets out of a tackle and nowhere to go on the second down play. Loss of 1 on the carry. But again, there are community media stations all around the state of Minnesota. Town Square Television, a great partner with us. They cover the Minnesota Vixen, so they're a big supporter of women's football as well. We cover high school sports. We cover all sorts of events, and there are plenty around the great state of Minnesota, and we're just looking for the most support we can get to help stay on the air, and so we can keep doing games like these, high school sports, women's professional football. Anything you can do to spread the word, contact local legislators, anything you can do, we appreciate the assistance. Again, savecommunitytv.org, or if you want to leave a personal donation for us as a station, hastingstv.org/donate. Again, thank you for all your support. As Madison Hahn looking to pass, has a receiver, and that is nearly picked off. Tight window. Definitely good coverage. Tight pass, trying to squeeze that one through. Take a look back at here. Again, just a little high. I don't hate the throw, just a little bit high. As we'll get another punt here with 4 minutes and 4 seconds to go in the quarter. I want to say hello to Joel and Cindy Stinson watching from Tulsa. Gene Thompson, Go Rage. Laura Canes, let's go Minx. Again, thanks for tuning in. Fake! And that one will unfortunately go nowhere, but I love that call for a fake punt in that scenario. I mean, everything, your defense has done a fantastic job all day, so why not try to throw something right there? Let's take a look back at it. So that was the kicker once again, trying to do the pass here. Just a little tight of coverage, but I love that call. Fortunately for the Minks, nothing doing there. And we'll set up another Oklahoma drive, but so far Minnesota's defense holding up stout. And unfortunately, if you can keep Oklahoma pushed back, they've done a nice job keeping them off the scoreboard. Sorry if I'm kind of repeating that, but it has been the big story here. So first down, out of the gun. Quarterback keeper up the middle, and quickly wrapped up again by this Minx defense. Otterson and number 56 there on the tackle. 56 is Conyers. Again, first contact Conyers, and then Otterson comes in nicely for the assist. Looking to pass, fake the play action, didn't know it was coming. Rose with the reception, a lot of space, but quickly wrapped up by the Minx. Again, love that play design. These short passes are working very well for the Oklahoma Rage, as I believe there's an injury down on the field. Apologize, it's hard to catch a number of the injury. I think it's number 20, Rose, their big wide receiver target, and if she's out for an extended period of time, that could be huge for the Rage. Let's see if we can see what happened here. So fake the play action, nice screen, short play. It's hard to see what happened there. Maybe the ankle got rolled up. And fortunately for now, Rose will have to check out of the game. So third down here. Working out of the gun, looking to pass. Chucking deep, has a receiver. And fortunately ties up under her own feet. That was Rachel Stinson, the intended target. I love the shot there, but just nowhere to go with it. Or just a little too tied up there. And imagine this will be an Oklahoma punt, and it looks like it will, 77. Walmer will be out here with 2:50 left to go, approaching the 2-minute mark here. So again, nice job by the Vixen. Minx. One thing they got to be careful with, though, is making sure their defenders get their head around, because I thought there's going to be some pass interference on that. But no damage done for Minnesota. High snap, looking to get the punt off. Does, and it's a pretty good one. Will be fielded near the 30, and that goes off a Rage player. I believe that should have been a dead ball, but because that hit the back of a Rage player, but apologize, not sure on that specific ruling, but they will give it to them at the 40.
number 65, Mallory Bregmeyer.
So again, another Minx opportunity here. They gotta get the passing game rolling.
At the Minnesota 40.
Again, Hahn looking pretty good at quarterback. Only a few passes so far this afternoon. 2 for 3, I believe, on the afternoon. So you get a good shot of the Minx huddle. Sun trying to peek out a little bit, but on a cloudy, dreary day. Fairly windy here. Winds around 15 miles an hour. Just had some rain last night, but overall pretty nice day. It cooled off. We went from like an 80-degree day yesterday to now in the 50, right at 50, high 40s. Hahn looking to pass. Has time. Receiver over the middle. Nice catch by Julie, 23. First down. Takes it across the 45 and tackled out of bounds. And that's the big tight end. Again, Julie, 23, coming up clutch. Again, Hahn not afraid to throw it into traffic, and just the size of Julie 23 allows for the big game and big play for the Minnesota Minx. Now they're rolling here. 2:24 to go. Again, since it's college rules, the clock stops after a first down until they get reset. Hahn looking to pass, chucks it over the middle, tipped, and caught! What a play! That's number 21 on the reception, Hurd. Take a look back on it. Again, not afraid to throw it over the middle. Got tipped by 23 and just great awareness by Hurd to make that reception. And that'll be the first time out for Minnesota. And finally, the Minx are getting something rolling here in the late stages of this quarter.
Hastings Community Television is the proud broadcast partner of the Minnesota Minx and WFA football. However, with more and more people cutting cable every day, funding for community television is in rapid decline. Community television helps support communities all around the state of Minnesota, but they need your help. Consider supporting HCTV by leaving a donation at hastingstv.org.
So again, Minnesota Minx finally driving down the field here. Good passing from Madison Hahn, Julie 23, Hurd, all connecting so far. So the Oklahoma Rage getting put on their heels a little bit. Again, Minnesota Vixen should just be kicking off here shortly. So, drive continues as we are starting to get some sun poking out. Before we send it to break, we will take a look at the score. So it's going to be a second and short. They are going to quarterback sneak it. Should get the push here, and they do, but will quickly... Yeah, she should have that first down. Madison Hahn on the quarterback keeper. Nice job lunging her way forward. And clock stopped at 1:52, so once they get set, clock will continue to run. But before we send it to halftime break, we'll take a look at all the scores. Oklahoma's 2 touchdowns, and we'll see what Minnesota does here. So big drive here for the Minx. They are looking fantastic here. Got some life in their offense. And the Rage defense hasn't been too far off either. They've been doing a good job jamming these lanes. It's just the receivers have been excellent. As we get set for first down and 10. Out of the gun. One back in the backfield, Madison Hahn. Bad snap, gonna have to cover, and the running back will get on top of it, and that is what you call a drive killer. Clock will continue the run, 1:13 to go.
Fumble snap by Minnesota, recovered by number 91, Diamonds Miller.
Diamonds Miller, the running back, will be the one to cover it. And we are going to get another timeout.
It will be second and 13 for Minnesota at the 36-yard line.
It'll be second and 13.
Minnesota takes a timeout. That is their first timeout of the first half. And The Minnesota Vixen are WFA Pro Division I professional.
So good look at the Minnesota offense.
Team of the Minnesota Minx. Established in 1999, the Vixen are the longest continuously operating.
See if I got a score from you Dinah Field. Minnesota Vixen taking on DC Divas at 2-0. Minnesota Vixen at 1-1 on the season, losing to a good St. Louis Slam squad by 1 touchdown. So offense coming back onto the field. I believe the Minks have 1 timeout. PA announcer just said it was their first, but I don't believe that's the case. So that should be Minnesota's second timeout. So they're looking to get things in order. Not sure what the conversation is here. Looking to get the clock reset. Looking like 1:16 to go. I believe they're having some clock troubles here. It's showing 11:16. Now they're going to have a conversation with Coach Moose down on the sideline. So it is 1 minute and 16 seconds on the clock. They're just having some issues getting it reset. So have a little bit of a delay. First home game of the season, so still kind of getting the bugs and that ironed out. Yeah, it's kind of showing up as 11:06 seconds. So unfortunately, some confusion here. I might pop over and see if we can get that corrected. And now going back to it, they finally got it reset. It was showing 11 seconds. 11.6 seconds, but now they got it to 1:16, and we're finally set to play here. So here we go. Big second down. Got to get this passing offense rolling here. Under a minute to go and 1 timeout. Unless I missed it. Got a confused timeout here. Minnesota Minx offense looking to get rolling here. Hahn checking in with 23. The big tight end. So here we go, out of the gun. 1 back in the backfield, Hahn. Has time. Pressure, good block by Miller. Throw over the middle and incomplete. Intended target was once again Hurd. Good pickup on that block by Diamonds Miller out of the backfield. She did a very nice job giving Hahn that extra time to get that throwaway, just unfortunately a little too far for the intended target with 1 minute and 11 seconds to go here in quarter number 2. Welcome Amy Young, a battleship, Carol Winkleman, and then Sydney. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast. Uh-oh, a lot of pressures. She's looking to run. She's got to get that throwaway. Got to throw that away. She takes a shot to the back of the helmet. And fortunately was not in a good spot to throw that away, but she kind of took a shot to the back of the head a little bit there. Clock, I will stop with 1 minute and 1 here to go. Loss of 12, so it's going to be a 3rd and long situation at this point. No, it's 4th and long, excuse me. So it will be a punt. And unfortunately, they finally got a sustained drive going, but they were unable to capitalize. But a lot to like from that drive and a lot to build on out of half number 2. But we'll see what the Rage decide to do here, as they'll take the punt with a little over a minute. Look at the pass. Hopkins throws a little wobbler picked off, and that's going to give the Rage great field position. 30-20, only the kicker to beat, and another touchdown. That's number 8 for the Oklahoma Rage, Berryhill, with the pick 6. Let's take a look back on it. Again, interesting decision. Tried to get it deep, just didn't have enough mustard on it and picked off and just frankly taken to the house. Try not to be too critical, but that was definitely in a 4th and long situation to try and chuck it deep. Definitely an interesting decision, as the extra point will miss once again, and there's a flag on the field. I believe it'll be making contact with the kicker. We'll only have the wide shot to look at the penalty here as we await the call. As we await the call here from our official. Yep. That's exactly what we thought, running into the kicker. So they'll redo the try. This time another yard score. Or another yard shorter, excuse me. Words are difficult. So they'll retry it a couple yards closer, and they haven't made a single extra point today. So that's going to be a huge difference maker, as that one is blocked. So first, let's take a look at the running into the kicker, and then we'll take a look at that last extra point. Yep, unfortunately just took a bad angle and slid right into her legs. As we take a look here at the, see what happened on the kick. Honestly, she actually kicked it into the back of the head of Alicia Williams, the O-lineman. Fortunately, just not a great kick. So far, I guess the other blemish on Oklahoma's day is they just have not done well in the kicking department. However, defensively, special teams-wise, they are looking excellent here. They are looking like a top 3 team in Division III football. Again, like I said, Minx hanging tough, but just so far, no offensive response. So be ready for a quick little squibber again. They've done it all game, and they will cover it. Looking to try and return it is Hurd, and nowhere to go. So about 37 seconds will be on the clock. 37 seconds will roughly be on the clock. We'll see how conservative the Minks try to be here. And if you're just joining us, all the Rage's score coming off two of their scores coming off short field drives within the 30-yard line. Touchdown run on a quarterback keeper, and then the touchdown screen, and then the last pick 6 you saw on the throw by Mel Hopkins, the kicker and the backup quarterback. So there's a 5-yard penalty against the Oklahoma Rage. Give the Minks slightly better field position. We'll be at the 46-yard line. So I wonder if that little bump will incentivize the Minks to be a little aggressive here. But we'll see what they end up trying to do. Looks like they're going to chat about it. It's kind of the bunch formation. 3 backs in the backfield. Hahn will take it under center. Handoff, has a running back looking to bounce it outside. Now cuts back in. Finds a lane, gains 2 or 3 on the carry. Going to have to move quickly or call a timeout if they want to keep this drive alive. Here's a look back at the play. Again, good play design. Finally looking for some separation. Just can't get to the edge quick enough. Up to 1.
We'd like to acknowledge another community partner, Sandy's Tavern, located in Richville,
So I
Minnesota, and established in 1933, is home of the best burger.
So I apologize. I may have lost track of our timeouts. Either the Minks have 1 left or are out. I believe they are out of timeouts. However, they're not tracking timeouts on the scoreboard, unfortunately. So we're doing our best here on the graphics end at our HCTV graphics department. So score update from the Minnesota Vixen DC Divas games. Minnesota has a 3-0 lead over the DC Divas, as we're going to get a stoppage before the play begins. If they just remark the spot, they'll get set to go here once again. So bunch formation once again. Hahn under center. We'll hand it off. Kept, great deception. Hahn out there for a block, needs to get out of bounds. And she'll be tackled down at the just shy of the 40. That was number 31 on the carry once again. That is Guana. And the clock now at 10 seconds. So imagine so it'll be a gain of 1 on the play. I apologize. I did have our timeouts incorrect, unfortunately. So Oklahoma does have 1 timeout. And now Minnesota is down to 0 timeouts, as you can kind of see on the bug. Again, kind of talking upcoming schedule, too, for both of these teams. For Minnesota, after this afternoon's contest, we'll touch on it later, but they'll take on the Iowa Phoenix in a couple of weeks. They have a bye weekend next week, and then we'll play the Midwest Mountain Lions for their second game of the season on the 7th, and then we'll finish the season at Cedar Raptors. For the Oklahoma Rage, they'll take on Cedar Raptors next week, home date with Austin on the 7th, and then finish with the Iowa Phoenix. So 3rd down, back out of the gun. 10 seconds left on the clock. Looking to pass. Throws it over the middle, and that's picked off. And they just need to tackle her, and they will get her down. That's picked off by number 18, Dominique Jones. And just unfortunately threw it over the middle of the field, and nothing hurt, as there's only a couple of seconds left on the clock. Here's a look back on it on replay. Big defensive play by the Rage, just left short of 23. A little contact there, but... And a flag at the end of the play, too. I didn't catch that initially. So it'll be holding against... It'll be holding. The penalty's declined. And that's how we're going to send it to halftime here. The Oklahoma Rage lead the Minnesota Vixen Minks. I'm sorry, I'm going to do that a lot today. Minnesota Minks 18-0 here. Let's take a look at how we got there before we send it to break. Here's a look at the first score. Back at the beginning of the second quarter, play action quarterback keeper by Eldridge will take it into the touchdown herself. Then later in the second quarter, nice play action design, and we'll throw it to Rose, who'll walk in for the touchdown. Fumbled at the end, but she already crossed the plane on the play. So then Minnesota tries to get a little cute with the fake pass on fourth and what was eternity, and tried to get the fake punt and was picked off, and it was taken all the way to the house, and that's where our score remains. So we're going to take a break. Thanks for joining us, everybody, for this broadcast. The Oklahoma Rage lead 18-0 over the Minnesota Minks. You're watching WFA football here on Hastings Community TV.
He gets the pin. What a move, what a goal! Oh, what a shot, scores! The Raiders, can they get the lift? Yes, they do.
Just snipes one.
Oh my God! And reaching up and making the play. It's moving! It's over!
Looking to throw, and she's going to get the first down.
Gone! Touchdown Raiders!
Push that trash that way, not this way. Come on.
Oh, hey there. Do you like HCTV?
That's one small step for Hastings and one giant leap for community television.
Do you want a custom video that promotes your business or organization and gives you the results you're looking for? As an HCTV sponsor, our staff will work with your business or organization to create a custom video to promote your brand. You also have an option of getting a shout out in every sporting event we cover. And that's 3 points for your business. So support HCTV today! Go to hastingstv.org/sponsors for more information or to give a one-time donation.
Today, 4 Minnesotans lost their lives from fentanyl poisoning.
And 4 more will tomorrow.
Fentanyl is the #1 killer of 18 to 45-year-olds.
It's killing more and more 12 to 17-year-olds. They're people we care about.
Like my brother.
My sister.
My best friend. We have the power to make a difference in our community. Join us in the fight against the fentanyl crisis.
We are seeing great football on every field, every week, on the Road of Champions. Welcome to the Road to Champions. I'm your host, Brian Sweeney, the voice of the Women's Football Alliance Pro Division National Championship game. Alex is back with me in studio this week, and we've made it to week 4 of the regular season and 50 episodes in the Road to Canton, Road of Champions series. Thank you for all your support during our first 50 episodes. Here are some of the greatest touchdowns to look back on. When we come back, we'll check out the scores and highlights from week 3. With 3 weeks in the stat sheets, some teams are already playing in postseason form, while others are still looking for help. Let's look now at the week 3 scores and highlights. The Houston Energy continued to dominate in the state of Texas when they welcomed the Austin Outlaws for their home opener and showed the Energy's dominance on the field, blanking the Outlaws 57-0. The Nevada Storm were glad to be back at home when they welcomed the Capital Pioneers. After last week's loss, the Storm were quick to rebound and picked up their second win of the season, final score 49-0. And the Pittsburgh Passion met new in-state rivals, the Philly Phantoms, for the first time and managed to do what Virginia and DC have already done this season, keep the Phantoms off the board. Final score, Passion on top, 62-0. And in the first of the 3 games of the week on the All-Women's Sports Network. In the early game, the DC Divas kicked off their 25th season at home when they welcomed the Tampa Bay Inferno. The first half of this game was back and forth, but in the end, it was Dana Blakey that helped to open up the scoring and keep the Divas undefeated with a 38-28 win over the Inferno. Alex, DC is showing us that in their 25th season, this very well may be the year that they make it back to the national championship. Your thoughts on this game?
Well, I think the first thing with this game is you look at how Tampa Bay showed up on the road. You don't necessarily know what you're going to see when you see Tampa on the road, but they had a good performance in the Beltway area, much as Boston did when they were part of the WFA, where you were able to put some points up against a pretty good DC Divas defensive unit. I really liked what I saw out of them on the field in the Beltway area. Now, for DC, on the other hand, again, this is a team that's really performing at championship level of football. Yes, their matchups with Pittsburgh will be a significant factor in who is able to be that team that represents the national over there in Canton, Ohio. But you really like just how well Amanda Congialdi is playing at quarterback. There have been times where she's been game managers. There's been times where she's been stat padding, for lack of a better word, for the course of the regular season and in those garbage time moments. But that's not been the case for her this season. She's been playing really, really well. She's getting great help around her. And this DC team could be legit in that national conference.
And in the second game of the week, the Minnesota Vixen took to the road for the first time in 2025 when they went into St. Louis looking for a win against the 2024 national champions. At the half, it was looking like Minnesota could get their first ever win in St. Louis as they went into the locker room with the lead. In the second half, however, St. Louis stopped the Minnesota run game, and even after recovering an onside kick, Minnesota stalled out at the 50-yard line as time was expiring. St. Louis, in the end, came out on top, and in doing so, kept their winning streak alive. Final score, 34-27. These teams will meet again May 31st in Minnesota. Alex, in the second half of this game, the St. Louis Slam pretty much stopped the Minnesota run game, and Jamie Gall is already playing in postseason form. Your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, I think that the first takeaway I have from this matchup, it goes back to what was said on the Livestream STL broadcast, where they were critical about a certain organization that had put the St. Louis Slam at 5th. If there was any team and any program that's doing that, it's not this one. We've said since St. Louis beat Boston last year, beat them twice, we said that they're the team to beat in the WFA. With that being said, this now looks like, again, another championship caliber team. St. Louis and Minnesota will always be judged on on how they play themselves. This case is no different. Yes, there was a little bit of a slow start from what I expected to see by St. Louis in their offense, but by the time that third quarter started, they really had their stuff figured out. It wasn't just that Jamie Gall was attacking a Minnesota secondary that she has historically had success against, but you talk about in terms of what that game meant to her. Having lost her grandmother earlier on in the week, that's a significant way to be able to play and to play with some motivation. And Jamie Gall, again, looks like she's in that consideration for American Conference Player of the Year, especially on the offensive side this year. And St. Louis, again, looks like the team to beat out in the western side of the Pro Division. But that being said, this opens up the door a little bit for Minnesota, where when we see these games in Minnesota and in St. Louis, that you don't necessarily expect for that door to be open, but because you let Minnesota get back into that game, all of a sudden now, if Minnesota runs the table because of their strength of schedule, and you have a really good showing in the reverse matchup here in Minnesota in that game, all of a sudden that door for home field is wide open. Because you have that opportunity now with St. Louis, a weaker strength of schedule. If you, and it would have to be multiple touchdowns. If you're Minnesota and you can play a multiple touchdown lead against St. Louis at home, well, all of a sudden St. Louis is vulnerable. And all that it takes in that one game playoff situation is that vulnerability. And we know that Connor Joe Lewis and the Minnesota Vixen are not shy of taking big chances and big opportunities. Now it's just, can they pay off in the long run?
We'll be right back to look at the third and final game of the week. And in the third game of the week, after playing their first two games of 2025 on the road, the Cali War welcomed the Mile High Blaze. In the first half, both teams started slow, but in the end, it was the War coming out on top and avenging last season's loss, 40-12. Alex, after an opening season loss, Cali is now 2-1. How many more wins can they get this season, and is it too late for Mile High to turn their season around?
Well, I think that's where it starts with Mile High. There are good players, there are talented players in that locker room, but they just have not been able to put it together no matter whom they've played. In a competitive American Conference, you don't want to say your season's over when you're not even halfway through, but at this point your season's over. There's just not enough room for error left for Mile High with how good the rest of the American Conference has been. Meanwhile, for the Cali War, they continue to bounce back. They continue to play some really good football following that loss to the Nevada Storm to start their 2025 campaign. You beat a Division III team very handily when Brianna Barrett goes off for 8 touchdowns. Barrett had another great touchdown, that beautiful one-handed receiving backwards catch that she had in this game against Mile High. There's some really good stuff happening with the Cali War, and it feels like they're starting to get back to form. The big question again with the Cali War, and we saw it when we were there a couple of years ago, who plays quarterback? You have Chantel Wiggins, who does a great job. You have Tanya Guzman, who does a great job as well. And you have Mo Etchen, who came over from the Nevada Storm. All of them good quarterbacks. Somebody has to take the reins and be that person to lead that offense back to victory.
Now let's look at the Week 4 matchups. The 0-2 Mile High Blaze welcome the 1-1 New Mexico Bonitas of Division 2. This is the only non-pro game matchup of the season for the Blaze, and a crucial game for them to win. The last time these teams met was in 2023, with New Mexico coming out on top. The 0-2 Austin Outlaws are on the road to play the 0-2 Dallas Elite Mustangs. Both of these teams need big wins this week and again in 2 weeks when they will meet again in Austin. Last season, Dallas came out on top in the only meeting 26-3. After a week off, the 1-1 Nebraska Pride welcomed the 2-0 Houston Energy to the Pride's first game at home since winning the Division II championship in 2024. Houston is looking to remain in the playoff talks for the Pro Division, and the Pride are excited to play at home for the first time this season. The 2-1 Cali War are at home for the second straight week, this time when they host the 2-1 Nevada Storm. This will be the second meeting of the season for these teams that squared off in Nevada during Week 1 when the Storm came out on top 30-24. For both of these teams, a loss could mean missing the playoffs at the end of June. Alex, Week 4 is the midway point in the season. How would you grade these teams so far in their midterm?
Well, I think true to form here in academia, thinking about how these teams have gone this season, there's a lot of things that I look at and I say there are teams that get A's. You look at your Pittsburghs, your DCs, your Minnesotas, your St. Louis's, your Calis to an extent, your Nevadas as well. But you look at them, that great wide middle, especially in the American Conference, where you have a Nevada team that, yes, has shown good, but yes, has shown bad as well, losing to a Division II team by a non-competitive margin. Then you have a Mile High team where you could look at them and you could give them a D because the talent is there, but again, it hasn't gotten the results. And then you look at teams like the Philly Phantoms. We said in week 1 we didn't know what we were going to get out of Philly. So far, they have a combined 0 points through 3 games. Regardless of not having played your entire season last year, that is a complete failure to me for the Philly Phantoms. So there's a good range of it, but that great wide middle, especially in the American Conference, really is what I'm focusing on in this next half of the season.
We'll be right back to look at the Week 4 Game of the Week.
Welcome back to Spring Lake Park High School here in Spring Lake Park, Minnesota. Hunter Pinky on the call for all of today's action. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We're happy to have you here. So far, brief half recap. So far, it's been mostly a defensive battle. Just a few key mistakes early on gave Oklahoma great field position coming out to start the second quarter, and 2 drives with short field position allowed them to take a 12-0 lead. Then they scored on a would be a pick 6 on a fake punt from the Minnesota Minks. And that's how we got here so far. It's been a really back and forth game. Honestly, Minnesota looking great defensively. Oklahoma starting to get the offense rolling too with the passing game. Both defenses looking very, very strong today, but Minx gonna need to get that offense started here if they want to hang tough in this game and one of the better Division III teams. Again, Minnesota coming in with a 1-1 record, and Oklahoma coming in with a 2-0 record. Just to address a couple comments, and good catch. I probably did not see that hit where she kind of got hit back in the head in real time. It kind of looked like it, but unfortunately, again, in real time when I'm managing a few things. As well, to correct a comment, Chris Leinhard, you said, I think it's 13, not 23. I'm guessing you're referring to Julie 23. Her number is 13, correct, but her name on the roster is July 23. That was Julie, excuse me. There she is on your screen. You can see the 23 nameplate and the 13 jersey number, and if I got that totally wrong, I apologize, but I appreciate you all commenting. Again, we want to make it I like to make our broadcasts fairly interactive as we're set for kickoff here in the third quarter. And we are underway here. Minnesota Minx set to return. That might be Oklahoma football. And it will be. Apologize, I was getting some of my graphics reset. We'll have to take a look and see what happened here.
The Oklahoma kickoff went beyond 10 yards.
Went beyond 10 yards, and they've been kind of doing a squib kick situation all day, and Minnesota's generally done a good job, and there's a little touch there that kept it in bounds. And unfortunately for the Minx, Oklahoma starting right where they left off. And we'll get field position once again. So first down for Oklahoma out of the gun. Eldridge. Oh, bad snap. Who's going to get on it? And that's Minnesota football. And a quick response on a bad snap. Minnesota quickly covers after a mistake of their own. That was Conyers who was able to cover the football. There she is on the sideline. And talk about a interesting way to start this second half. Don't see that kind of way to start off a half very often. As Minnesota's looking to get their first drive of the second half started on a high note. So first down, looking to pass, has a receiver, and immediately picked off by Oklahoma. So back-to-back turnovers to start this half. That was Rachel Stinson, the cornerback in coverage with the interception. Let's take a look at it. Had some time, just... there was a little contact there. You could maybe make a little bit of an argument. Couldn't really see before that if it was incidental contact, but she was kind of getting tied up. However, play will continue. Fumbled, but nowhere to go with the football. So we'll move to second down. Again, that last play kind of tough. Like I said, if she made the contact a little early, then should have been called. But again, Minnesota has done a pretty good job forcing these long drive situations where we haven't seen Oklahoma thrive very well. Looking to change that on a hot pitch as she's tackled immediately. Number 5 for the Minks there, Karshbaum, immediately breaks up the play and will set up a 3rd and long. Oklahoma thrive very well. Again, kind of a hot pitch right there. Is nice read defensively by the Minks. So offensive line already, kind of like a half huddle almost. You can see the offensive line there. Quarterback just walking into your shot. So we get set for 3rd down. Looking to pass. Firing deep, has a receiver, and that's caught. Down near the 30-yard line and tackled by number 5, Koshbaum. That's number 33. Katie Sorensen is coming up, a little shaken up on the play after a big reception. That was a great pass and a great catch over the middle of the field. The first, probably the second big chunk play we've seen out of the passing game. And so Oklahoma really starting to ramp things up, as you can see her on the sideline. A little hurt, Sorensen. We saw their other prime target, Sarah Rose, who was took a lot of the targets early on. She left towards the end of the quarter. Another bad snap, and who's going to cover it? Who's going to cover it? Who's got the football? We'll have to see who they rule with. It will stay with Oklahoma, but again, another bad snap almost puts Oklahoma in a bad situation. And there, just saw it in your shot. Sarah Rose did check back into the game, which is good to see. Here's a look back at the bad snap, as Oklahoma's quickly able to cover. So here we are, 2nd and long, very long. We'll open up with the passing game, checking it deep, going for Rose, and just a step too far. Good to see Rose back into the game for the Rage. Never good to see someone leave the game, but in fact she's back in there, great sign. And the fact even with Rose back into the game, they were mixing up their targets is really going to give Minnesota a more difficult time. 11:27 to go here in the third quarter. So here we go, 3rd and long. Gonna need a big play here. They're opting to run it and quickly stuffed by the Minnesota Minx, and that will force a punt. And you know, I talked a lot about Otterson earlier on in the game, but Marlene Conyers is having a whale of a game. She's been involved in almost every single tackle. Number 56 for the Minnesota Minx, making her presence known. And we're going to see our first punt of the second half. Blooper of a snap, looking to get it away, nearly blocked, little line drive. And they're just going to wisely let that one go. Definitely with how that was kind of a screamer. Line drive, sort of punt. You definitely don't want to take a chance on a bobbled one. Let Oklahoma covered. And again, if you're just joining us, it was kind of a wild sequence coming out of halftime. Minks were unable to get the onside kick attempt, followed up by an immediate bad snap fumble recovered by the Minks. Then it was a turnover on a pick by Stinson for the Rage, and now just forced a punt. So we're going to see the Minnesota Minx for the second time in this half on offense. So 1st and 10. Looking to pass, Hahn. Going for 23 and threw way too high. Trying to keep it out of the reach of defenders, but that one kind of sailed on Hahn, setting up 2nd and 10. I'm not looking too comfortable in the pocket back there. But honestly, in my opinion, I think this passing game's really got to get started. When it was working in the first half, they hit a couple of nice chunk plays to 23 and to Hurd. Just got to get those connections working here to stay into this game. The running game has not been too successful for the Minx. So that's why they're going to work back out of the gun here, 2nd and 10. One back in the backfield looking to pass. Hahn has some time, and that is picked off once again. That's the 3rd interception of the game. That's Rachel Stinson once again with another pick. She had a pick on the last drive. Take a look back at that interception here. One back in the backfield looking to pass. Hahn has some time. Again, had an okay target, just threw it, a little tight coverage, just threw it a little too far ahead of her intended target, Hurd. That's the 3rd interception of the game. And Oklahoma. It's Rachel Stinson once again. Very happy with their defense. Now they have short field position once again. So 1st down. Looking to run, but nowhere to go. Quickly stuffed. About Shavonna Rucker on the carry for the Rage.
One play for Oklahoma's number 2, Shavonna Rucker, met by a host of Minnesota players, including number 34, Maddie Emanuel.
So set up a 2nd down in long. So it'll be 2nd and 12, officially a loss of 2 on the play. Looking to pass. Has a receiver out in the flat, and it's dropped. That was Shavonna Rucker again, the intended target. Little sportsmanship right there. Minx player helping fix her helmet. Love to see that, and at the end of the day, that's one thing the WFA is really good good about. Just having great sportsmanship and supporting both teams. I've seen it almost every single game, helping each other up. Obviously, you want a little smack talk sometimes, but generally they do an awesome job supporting each other, and it's a great thing to see. So third down, just outside of the red zone, looking to pass, has a receiver out in the flat. That's Rose again. Otterson in pursuit and just trips her up. That was a big tackle by Otterson, number 42 of the Minnesota Minks. Again, going back to those screen style plays, just outside they've been working extremely well for Oklahoma. But Otterson had a nice beat on it just to trip her up short of the first down. But it's going to set Oklahoma up with really good field position for this fourth down attempt. So far, as well, the story of the game is they have not made a single extra point on the special team side of the ball. So obviously going forward here. Big fourth down. Fourth and short. Out of the gun. Sends the receiver out wide. Quarterback keeper. And she's going to be tackled. Fumble. But they're going to call her down. Have to wait and see where. I believe she picked it up. She might be a hair short. See what the officials call here. And it's going to be Minnesota football. Again, another nice defensive stop by the Minnesota Minks. Just tripped up a little bit short. Our camera is not dead straight on the marker, but from my press box view, it definitely was. It was close, but I think she was a yard or two short.
It is first down and 10 at the Minnesota 18-yard line.
So Minks back out there. We'll have to see what they're going to draw up here. They've been struggling with the passing game. Running game has gone nowhere. It's just their offense is looking a little stagnant here. So looking to get some life into this offense. So looking to pass, a little pass out in the flat, and quickly read by the Oklahoma Rage. That was number 31, Ghana, the intended target. And we have a Oklahoma Rage player down on the turf. That is number 11, Jasmine Crisp, who's down on the play. So she gets worked on. Let's see if we can see what happened on this play. So looking to pass, thrown out in the flat. And not. So they continue to work on her. Hope everything's okay. A couple of players over there to check in. Gonna take one more look just to see. I didn't have the best look at it. Oh, she kind of got bent backwards when she kind of ran into Ghana. So we hope she's able to continue. But obviously we need to prioritize her safety. Definitely, especially with potential head and neck injuries, you gotta play it a little more cautious. So while they continue to work on crisp. We are going to take a very quick break, and we will be back. Thanks for joining us here for Minnesota Minx and Oklahoma Rage football.
He gets the pin. What a move, what a goal! Oh, what a shot, scores! The Raiders, can they get the lift? Yes, they do.
Just snipes one.
Oh my God!
And reaching up and making the play. It's moving. It's over.
Looking to throw, and she's going to get the first down.
One touchdown, Raiders!
Some you've heard of more, but it doesn't bother me cause I just love to explore. Interviewing owners and lending a hand. I love to assist for as long as they can stand.
Today, 4 Minnesotans lost their lives from fentanyl poisoning.
And 4 more will tomorrow.
Fentanyl is the #1 killer of 18 to 45-year-olds.
It's killing more and more 12 to 17-year-olds. They're people we care about.
Like my brother.
My sister.
My best friend.
We have the power to make a difference in our community. Join us in the fight against the fentanyl crisis.
Welcome back to Spring Lake Park High School. Excuse me, in Spring Lake Park, Minnesota. Took a brief break while they continued to work on Jasmine Crisp. They got her sitting up now on the turf. They have her helmet off. Definitely looked like kind of a head and neck or back injury. Finally have got her on her feet, and definitely one of the more scary injuries you're going to see in the game of football. Just, she made a football move trying to make a play, and fortunately just got tied up in an awkward position, but good to see she's finally walking off the field with some assistance. Definitely always scary when you see injuries like those in football, and our condolences to her and her family, and hopefully she is okay. She continues to walk off on the field. Minnesota Minx set for a second down. Here's we're set to resume play.
2nd and 13 from the 15-yard line.
So Minnesota Minx coming back onto the field as we get set to continue action here in the third quarter. 8:07 to go here in quarter number 3. 18-0 is our score. Here on a second down and medium. Khan looking to pass, looking for someone out in the flat, and picked off. And that's a touchdown. That time, honestly, Hahn just tried to force it to a play that wasn't there, didn't look at her other options, and went straight to the defender, number 18, Dominic Jones, as we'll take a look here on replay in a moment. Just try to get it to the check down too high, defender right in her face, and allowed for the pick six, and off she went, and that's another score for Oklahoma as we're set for another extra point. Again, this is the one blemish that's been on Oklahoma's record, just have not been able to get extra points down, and this time, no good. So still following suit as the score balloons to 24-0 in favor of Oklahoma, as I believe we have another injury down on the field. This time it's a Minx player. It's number 5, Jamie Karshbaum, and she's been having herself a nice day as well. Gonna see if we can. Not sure what happened. Try and take a look here and see what we can see. Oklahoma's record just have not. Looks like she grabbed her stomach. Just see if she's coming in on the left side of your screen and just landed kind of awkwardly. And the good news is she is there. You can see her at the bottom right of your shot. She's up on her own power. She just walked out of the side of your screen. So Oklahoma, another nice defensive play, getting another interception. I believe that's Hahn's third of the afternoon, 4th total. Kick is up and away, this time more straight away, and she's got to cover that quickly as nearly a botched return right there. Number 14 for the Minx was there to cover it. That's Juliana Rodriguez, the cornerback out of Eagan, Minnesota. So Minx with good field position. So looking at another possession for Minnesota. Learning too for the Oklahoma Rage, number 77, Lacey Wolmer, is actually a flight medic, which is really unique as handoff up the middle does manage to get a little space. Lacey Wolmer is actually a flight medic. And we'll set up a second down. Gain of about 3 on the play, so we'll set up about 2nd and 7 on the play. Once again, want to give a shout out to our camera operators, Max Slocum running the wide camera, Ian Andrusak on our high-tight camera. A couple cameras for this broadcast. Handoff. Looking to bounce it offside, but again, nowhere to go, and just running game's been stagnant. Passing game has not been looking great today. That was Anthena Hurd on the carry. Again, it looks like for a moment they might have some separation, and they're getting really creative with the play calls. It's just, so far, they're reading it really nicely defensively and not allowing any separation. Again, if you're just joining us too, I feel like the score is a little bit misleading too. It doesn't tell the tale of how strong Minnesota's defense has been today. It's just the offense has had no life in it. This handoff is to Hopkins, and we'll get it near the original line of scrimmage, and we'll set up another 4th down. Hopkins also doing the kicking and punting duties now. tale of how here's a look back at Minnesota's play. Defense is better. This time a little more success trying to get some options. This time she's actually able to squeak through a couple defenders. However, nowhere to go after that. Again, so far it's kind of been the offense. It's kind of been shooting themselves in the foot a little bit. And actually, they're going to call holding on Minnesota, so that's going to move them back 10 yards and set up a long third down. Third and 22, officially the yardage. Can imagine either a short pass here or a run just to get them out of their own territory. 6 minutes to go here in the third quarter. Out of the gun once again. One back in the backfield, couple of receivers, top of your screen. Madison Hahn takes a snap, looking to pass. Has some time, gets the throw away, and nearly intercepted again. That was number 13, Lily Swisher, out of Broken Arrow. Intended target was July 23. And fortunately for the Minks, that'll set up another fourth down and another fourth down punt. And again, July 23, made a few nice plays earlier in the game. Big target, and that they're trying to get it to her, but just unfortunately these passes are not connecting. And as we get set for a Mel Hopkins punt. That strong punt gets away overhead. That's going to trickle all the way down near the 35-yard line. So talk about a great punt from Mel Hopkins.
The punt by number 33, Mel Hopkins, is down by number 54, Rebecca Fall.
Head, that's going to trickle.
It will be 1st and 10 for Oklahoma at the 33-yard line.
You know, I think we'll pull a little bit of Pat McAfee, and I think some punters need some love here, too, as we take a look back at that nice punt. Gets a good roll and takes it down to the 35-yard line. Got to say it's for the brand. So this will set up another Oklahoma Rage drive. Pitch outside to number 22. Great tackle, great pursuit by the Minks defensively. A plethora of players in coverage on the play. Here it is. Pitch outside to number 22. Just doing a nice job stopping the run by the Minks defensively. Again, so far they've gotten burned a couple times in the passing game, but they've honestly been rebounding nicely all day. And again, like I said, just these offensive mistakes kind of ballooning that scoreboard. Take away a couple of those, and we're still at a 12-point ball game. Looking to pass deep, has a receiver. What a grab! Oh my goodness. What a catch by number 23, Keyshawn Simmons. In coverage, or double coverage for that matter. Take a look back at this. 12-point ball game. A beautiful ball and an even better reception in double coverage. Wow. Passing game is alive for the Oklahoma Rage. As the chains move past midfield, now play action once again. Screen set up and nearly picked off. Again, number 56 for the Minx, Conyers. Been calling her name all day. As the chains move, she's been now play action once again. Great in coverage, as you can see her just jump up and can't quite bring it down. And there's a good look at her on the top of your screen on the D line. So second down. Looking to pass. Throwing near sideline, and That will be a catch and a first down going down to a knee, and that's where you see those college rules come into play. The second your knee touches the ground, you are down. Not like NFL rules. Let's get a look back on it. Again, nice job to come back to that one. She kind of had to almost backtrack. Made a nice reception on that. Number 33, Katie Sorensen. She also left the game a little shaken up earlier. But good to see most of the injuries or injured players return to the field. Obviously, with the score ballooning a little more, you want to be a little more mindful of injury management. But deep pass once again to Rose, and did she catch that? She bobbled it and came back to corral it. Oh my Lord. They are putting on a clinic right now. Let's take a look back on replay. With the score ballooning, Sarah Rose once again. A little more mindful of injury management, but deep shot. Not terrible coverage. Bobbles it and comes back and grabs it. What a catch by Sarah Rose. So sets up another trip to the red zone. Pressure. Is she going to get sacked? She gets out of it. She's going to take it herself past the 20 and made a lot of something out of nothing. And that's what, again, I talked about it earlier. Courtney Eldridge has done a fantastic job of buying time. Even when the passing game was struggling in the early stages of this game, she was buying a lot of time, extending the plays. And this time she was able to sneak through the hole and then pick up a good chunky yardage on the busted play. And then Otterson there to bring her down with first contact. So Oklahoma threatening once again. Handoff once again, and they're going to be tackled for a loss. Or pretty close to it. Again, the run game just has not been pull back a little. Working very well for Oklahoma. Minks' run defense has been excellent today. So set up a 3rd and 10. So big third and 10. Looking to pass. Has a receiver, throws it, and a little miscommunication. Was kind of going for the fade. Intended target was number 23, Vanessa Bledsoe. She kind of motioned like there was a little bit of contact there. Take a look and see if she had a gripe. Looking to pass. There was a little bit of contact there, but not enough to draw the flag. Again, just reminder to our fans online or in the stands, be kind to our officials no matter what. It's kind of a problem across all places with people being mean to officials and making them not want to work the game. Back shoulder fade. What a grab. Did she hold on? Yes, she did. Oh, my goodness. Any target they go to, as they're hauling in every single pass on this drive, and they extend the lead to 30-0. Let's take a look back on it. Being mean to officials and can buy some time, finds a gap. Again, they had someone there in coverage, just got over them. Looks like she held all the way through. A nice touchdown reception. And for the first time this game, the Oklahoma Rage have made an extra point. Again, the one blemish I can for sure have on their record is they have not done well on extra points, but that time they blast it right through the uprights. And let's take a look at that touchdown grab one more time. With people being mean to officials and making them not. Again, just finds a soft spot in the coverage.
Correction, the score is 31-0.
Nice grab. And her teammates are hyped right around her. As Minx got to get ready for, well, my guess would be another squib kick, because they've been doing that all game today. They've done mostly a good job. I believe they've gotten 4 out of the 5. No, maybe 4 of 6. But again, they kind of like to do a quick huddle, then quickly sneak up and kick it. Set to tee it up once again. About 53 seconds left in quarter number 3. Lights are just coming on here at the high school. Now here's the kick. This time, still a little poocher. And another potential turnover. And again, the wheels just coming off for the Minnesota Minx as another botched return. They're just targeting up the middle. Now here's the special teams starting to struggle as of late. Still a little poocher. And apologize, we'll have to try to get another angle of that replay. That angle did not have it. Here, let's give this one a shot. Again, just muffed it and just took a bad bounce on the rebound, and immediately back out there are the Oklahoma Rage. And at this point, too, it's turning into a battle of stamina. Looking to pass once again, firing it deep near the sideline. And did she hold on to that? She did. Courtney Eldridge looking to pass once again, firing it deep near the side. Man, what a nice grab on the back end. She's getting a lot of help from her receivers as well. They're making some difficult catches, as I believe they're going to let the clock trickle down, and that'll take us to the end of quarter number 3. So far, it's been all Oklahoma in the second half, and Minnesota looking for some sort of answer. But thanks for joining us, everybody. We're going to take another quick break. You're watching WFA Division III football here on HCTV Sports.
He gets the pin. What a move, what a goal! Oh, what a shot, scores! The Raiders, can they get the lift? Yes, they do.
Just snipes one.
Oh my God! And reaching up and making the play. It's moving. It is over.
Looking to throw, and she's going to get the first down.
One touchdown, Raiders!
But here is the difference for the class of 1990.
We went from Mile High Eagles to Al and Peg.
I know you're all excited about Y2K. You could lose power or party like it's 1999.
Hastings High School has been graduating senior. This is the first commencement of the 87. Congratulations, class of 2023. Go Raiders!
Funding for community TV is in rapid decline, and HCTV will not survive without your help. Let your local representatives know that you support community TV. To learn more, visit savecommunitytv.com.
Back here Long pass to the sideline, and this time a little bit too far for the intended target, number 23, Vanessa Bledsoe. Again, you just saw the commercial. Don't forget to help support community TV stations around the state, across the country. Funding is declining all around the country with more and more people cutting cable. You know, we got to look for new sources of revenue. If you'd like to help support HCTV and our coverage of women's professional football, consider donating at hastingstv.org/donate. Or if you want to help learn how you can get involved in the fight for PEG across the state of Minnesota, visit savecommunitytv.com. Look at the pass. Fade and just too far. That was number 54 in coverage, Rebecca Fulmer. Intended target was Katie Sorensen. Once again, shout out to our production crew, Ian and Max on the camera. I'm Hunter Pinky on play-by-play, doing your graphics, doing your replay, doing your cutting, stream managing. So thank you for bearing with me today, folks. Takes a lot to put into these games, and happy to do it as we're set for another 4th down. They will go for it here. Back out of the gun, one back in the backfield, 3 receivers near side of your screen. Looking to pass Eldridge, firing it deep. And there is some contact, and she still caught the ball, and she's gone. Man, I would say she looks like Justin Jefferson, but I'm not a Vikings fan. Sarah Rose has been on fire this afternoon, especially coming back from an injury. They will go for it here. Back out of the gun, one back in the backfield. We'll take a look back at it after the pass Eldridge, kick. It deep, and there is some contact, and she still caught the ball, and she's gone. Back out there for the kicking duties, Lacey Wolmer. Again, thanks to the comments for letting us know that she's actually a flight medic. Really cool and fun fact. Let's see if they can get this extra point. And once again, kind of following suit. A missed extra point. She's only made 1 today. Let's take a look back at that touchdown pass. They will go for it here. Back out of the gun, one back in the backfield, 3 receivers near side of your screen. Looking to pass Eldridge, firing it deep. Again, looked like there was a little bit of a hold. I saw it on her wide shot, but even still, she made the grab. Might not have been as big of a hold as I thought, but regardless, still made the catch, and unfortunately for Coach Rylander, things are starting to get a little bit out of control. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but for Minnesota, again, your defense has played great. Your defense has played fantastic. This ballooning of the score does not fall too heavily on the offense here. It's just, or the defense, excuse me. Just unfortunately, the offense has not been able to give this defense the support it needs. And that's just been sort of the story of the game. And I think they will get it together. They made some nice passing plays early on. It's just, we'll need some extra help later as special teams. Uh-oh, that one squirted away, and it's going to be Oklahoma football. And again, you can just tell a lot of these players are starting to get tired, they're starting to get gassed, and it's starting to compile into a not-so-great situation for Minnesota. So another drive. 37-0 is our score here. Looking to pass once again. Pressure and good protection and another grab. Great blocking downfield and another Oklahoma touchdown.
Courtney Elbridge is caught by number 23, Vanessa Bledsoe, who runs it in.
Vanessa Bledsoe on the touchdown reception. And again, it's just been a passing clinic here in the second half. Looking to pass once again. Again, great protection and almost sacked there, but then a great strong throw over the middle to the tight end, and she takes it to the house, and we get another opportunity for an extra point. Quarterback into hold, kick is up, and she got that one. So finally breaking that bug and getting another extra point. And unfortunately for Minnesota, it has ballooned to a 45-0 lead here for Oklahoma. And again, if you're Oklahoma, you got to come in here feeling good. The halftime adjustments you made, the passing game has been great. Hats off to the Rage for coming in here and doing what they do best and winning football games. Obviously, this is going to be, never say never in sports, but this will move Oklahoma to 3-0. Minx will fall to 1-2. And again, Minnesota will have a tough task with their next opponent, the Iowa Phoenix. But hopefully looking to change some fortunes against them. Then they'll take on Midwest Mountain Lions on the 7th, who they beat 20-0 last week. Another onside kick. Who's got it this time? And this time it will stay with Minnesota. And again, a much-needed reprieve for that defense. And again, not to take anything away from the Oklahoma Rage offense, but that, I believe the last score to me kind of told the tale of defense has been on the field way too long. They're gassed. How long can you keep up with that? But again, that's part of the strategy of football. Oklahoma Rage as a whole is playing complete football, all together, top to bottom, and that's important. And even if you say, oh, the offense was carried by that team, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's all a team game, and the better it's a three-part system, and if your other parts are making it easier for you, then that's all that matters at the end of the day. So back out of the gun. Player in motion. We're going to pitch it backwards. Cuts back up the middle. Finally a decent running play, and she's only going to gain about 2. Looked like there was some life for a moment, but quickly covered.
One play for number 31, Catherine Ghana.
That was Catherine Ghana once again on the play.
Gain of 2 on the play. It is second down and 8. 45-yard line.
Again, thanks for everybody joining us this afternoon for WFA football. Whether you're from Oklahoma or somewhere in the Minnesota metro, appreciate having you all here. Spending your Saturday evening with us. We got a long hike back to Hastings, Minnesota. If you're from Oklahoma, the pitch is bobbled and Ghana is just going to have to cover it. From Oklahoma, just for reference, today, don't want to toot our own horn too much, but we did drive about 50 minutes to cover this afternoon's contest. Hastings, Minnesota is south of the Twin Cities. Spring Lake Park is the northern suburbs. Last few years, they were playing over at Harding High School in St. Paul, which is about 20 minutes. So it added about an extra 30 minutes to our commute, but this is a beautiful facility here. And honestly, it's been great. School district's been awesome setting us up. The team has been awesome setting us up. Appreciate everyone involved. Thank you to the viewers for joining us. Is looking for a little screen pass. Floater, and just a little too far for the running back, Hopkins, and that was third down.
The pass of number 9, Madison Hahn, is incomplete. The intended receiver, number 33, Mel Hopkins.
So we'll see what they do here on fourth down. So light starting to come on here. So setting up for another punt, Mel Hopkins had a very good punt last time out. Took a good bounce, pinned him back at the 30-yard line. She's also, I believe, the backup quarterback, and that's fielded. Trying to get a running start is number 15. Breaks a tackle across the 40 and gets a little extra on that. Take a look back on it on replay here. Had a very good punt last time out. Took a good bounce. About a 14-yard return. That was number 15, Amy Moran. I believe the backup quarterback, and that's fielded. Trying to get a running start is number 15. Breaks a tackle across the 40, and as you can see, Moran and players subbing out for Oklahoma. So another drive for the Rage here. And they're going to officially make a quarterback change and get some reserves into the game. That carry was by number 2, Shavonna Rucker. New quarterback is Anna Amon. If it's Anna Amon, please correct me. Gain of 6 on the carry. Might start seeing some reserves check in for both squads here in the late stages, just to get some new faces in there. Looking to hand off once again and trying to bounce it outside, but runs into a plethora of Minks. I don't know what the plural word or what the word for, like, you know, there's a herd of lions, pack of wolves. What would it be for the Minks? My English is not very defined in that regard, or wide in animal groupings. So back out of the gun, 3rd down and about 4. Looking to pass. Has a receiver over the middle. Fumbled and quickly recovered by Oklahoma. Again, a big hit. Dislodged that. So let's take a look back at it. Looking to pass. Again, kind of got caught flat-footed. Well, not even that big of a hit. Just kind of tripped her up and caught her in an awkward position. That was recovered by number 24, Alicia Williams. But the chains will move, and the clock is now at 10 minutes and 18 seconds. So continuing to wind down. Looking to pass again. Has a receiver near side, too high for Sarah Rose. Again, who's been a monster in the receiving game this afternoon. Again, like I said, I give her a lot of props too, especially after checking out of the game with an injury. So for Minnesota fans tuning in, gonna try to get you the halftime score. I believe they just hit halftime as a little screen pass set up. Nice spin move, continuing to go, nice block. And is finally taken down. That was number 33 on the screen, Katie Sorensen.
Pass from number 48, Anna Almond, caught by number 33, Katie Sorensen. The tackle by number 21.
Again, here's a look. Again, good play design set up. They really like running those short underneath screens kind of across the middle of the field.
And is
this time
finally
instead of
taken
Rose,
down.
they're mixing it up.
That was number 33 on the screen. Katie.
And we're going to get a stoppage of play here for Laundry on the field. And that'll be a false start and move them back 5 yards. Honestly, not too many penalties this afternoon. Very clean football. Saw a couple early stages. So score update from the Minnesota Vixen game. As we get an Oklahoma timeout here. Score update from just a few moments ago. Minnesota Vixen, DC Divas now at halftime. It's a 13-9 lead in favor of the Vixen, sitting at half.
We'd also like to thank another one of our community partners, Minnesota Elite Team Apparel. Servicing the Minnesota area since 2009, Minnesota Elite Team Apparel proudly supports football in Minnesota. Minnesota Elite Team Apparel is a blue.
Again, a gorgeous facility here from Spring Lake Park, Minnesota. Good crowd on hand, too. You know, there's a few Oklahoma fans actually straight across in the faraway bleachers. You can kind of see it in the background. Here's a few. I believe there are a few Oklahoma fans there. You know, that's technically the away bleachers, so getting a few people coming up from Oklahoma is awesome to see. Again, it's just awesome to see the sport continue to grow. As I believe this is Oklahoma's first time traveling to take on the Minks. They played a season ago back down in Oklahoma. That time, Oklahoma got the edge too, winning, I'll say, a lot to a little, kind of like tonight. Nice defensive stop by the Minks. Before we say our goodbyes, too, we will do one more scoring recap at the end of the game. A lot of scores to go through, so we'll want to make sure we give an adequate recap for all of our fans. So here's looking to pass, stepped, caught over the middle once again, and taken near a first down. It stopped a few yards short on the play.
Pass from number 48, Anna Ame, caught by number 33,
That was Sorensen once again on the reception. Here's a nice look at that last play. Again, just those crossing patterns over the middle. Caught over the middle once again. Design screens working really well, and again. And taking near a first down. Getting a second string quarterback some experience out on the field on the play. And again, you can tell that Minx defense is getting gassed as we approach 7:30 to go. Looking to pass, thrown out in the flat, and that is thrown short. Number 77, Wolmer, was the intended target. And that will be a turnover on downs. And we'll give the Minx the football.
At the Minnesota 27.
So we'll see what the Minx can get going here. If you're in the Minnesota area as well, they will be doing an after party as well. If you want to get some food. Get that info for you here in a second. We are going to get a quarterback swap. It will be number 33, Mel Hopkins, taking over at quarterback. Apologize, don't have the reader on me. Or you can check out the Minx social medias. That one's picked off by the Oklahoma Rage, and they're taking that one all the way back to the house, and that's a touchdown.
The pass from number 33, Nell Hopkins, intercepted by number 17, T. Knudtvig, who returns it for an Oklahoma touchdown. There is a flag.
There is a flag on the field, so we'll have to see what that call was. The pick was by Knudtvig. And they're going to pick up the flag. So the touchdown will stand, so let's take a look at that pick six. Apologize, don't have the reader. Again, just try to get it deep. I don't really know who she was throwing it to. Tight end number 84. Maybe down there? And unfortunately, things are just spiraling for the Minks here, and as we get set for another extra point. Bad snap. Quarterback will pick it up. Throw it for the end zone. And that is just batted down. So another missed extra point.
The extra point attempt by number 3, Courtney Eldridge, is knocked down and no good. 7 minutes and 17 seconds left in the fourth quarter. The score, Oklahoma 50, Minnesota 0.
And again, just everything's starting to fall apart for the Minnesota Minks. And again, things were going very well. Their defense played stout. It's just unfortunately, again, a lot of time on the field, not a lot you can do. And if you're in the Minnesota area, Hastings area tuning in, our high school sections are right around the corner. For softball, we're going to try to do one of those games a day next week. Going to be looking at that Wednesday or Thursday for our Raider softball coverage. That'll be on tape delay due to the high school league rules in Minnesota. But stay tuned to our social medias for that. For our Minx coverage, we will be back here on the 31st for the matchup against Iowa. And then the next week to follow for Midwest Mountain Lions. We are happy to be the home broadcast for Minnesota Minx football. Again, want to give a shout out to Ian and Max on camera, just bearing with the cooler weather that kind of jumped out upon us. Pretty windy too, so they have a little platform on top of the press boxes. This is more of a normal kickoff. Awkward return by Ghana. Had to kind of make an over to the shoulder catch, does, and takes it out near the 45-yard line. But again, there's a little deck on top of the press box. We were going to put our cameras up there today, but with the wind kind of going in the right direction, we were able to kind of save our camera operators and block some of the wind to warm it up a little bit as the Minnesota Minx back out onto the field. Believe we are still stopping the clock. I thought they sometimes do running time, but it appears they are not running the clock, and that might be a both teams agreed upon it rule, but I know a few times they would do running time in the past. And they are gonna put Madison Hahn back there at quarterback, and they're just gonna hand it off. And she runs into a plethora of players. That was number 21, Athena Hurd, on the carry.
Run play for number 21, Athena Hurd. Tackled for loss by Oklahoma. There is a flag on the field.
There is a flag on the field. Take a look from our official and see what we got.
illegal substitution.
An illegal substitution
Penalty. We will replay first down.
on the Oklahoma Rage, so
Following the penalty, it will be 1st and 5.
that'll give the Minks a better field position for first down. Handoff inside, trying to get it past the line to gain, nowhere to go. Quickly wrapped up. It'll be now 2nd and about 4.
And Gina Hurd tackled by number 7, Nicole Ingram. A gain of 1 on the play. It is 2nd and 4 at the 49-yard line.
So 2nd and 4 at the 50 or 49-yard line, excuse me. I almost said 51-yard line, and that's not real. I know football. At least I like to think so. 5:53 to go, clock continuing to run, and that is going to be a massive jump. I believe that will be on Oklahoma, as that whole entire defensive line jumped. Massive jump. So that'll give Minnesota a first down. Ball will move to the 44-yard line. There'll be a handoff, looking to bounce it outside and immediately wrapped up by Oklahoma. That was number 21 Hurd on the carry. Tina Hurd.
13, Lily Swisher. A loss of 2 on the play. It is 2nd and 12 at the 46-yard line.
So that'll set up a 2nd and 12. Second and 12. I formation, receiver in motion. Have the 23 in the back. Gonna give it to 23. She's gonna run through traffic and with a big carry. 23 with a huge run, as that's our biggest run of the afternoon from, I think, both squads. For sure Minnesota, but that might be our best run of the game. And the 23 in the back, 14-yard run on the carry, just blasts through the line. So that'll give Minnesota another first down. Looking to get on the scoreboard for the first time today as they hand off to Ghana. She runs into a plethora of Rage players. Make it 2nd down. Probably 8 or 9.
Tackled by number 69, Shannon Moore, for no gain. 2nd and 10 at the 32-yard line.
So they'll officially rule it no gain, so it'll be 2nd and 10. Second down. Handoff to 23 again, this time still carrying a pile of players, but gets some positive yardage on the carry. So again, trying to rely on 23 a little bit for some offensive spark. Listed as a tight end on the roster, sitting at 6'2", 260.
It is 3rd and 8 at the 30-yard line.
So third down. 2:30 left to go in the game. Not very often you see a 6'2" player at running back. As inside handoff. Gain a couple on the carry, but we'll set up a fourth down. Again, just kind of winding things down. Story of the game, just tight defensive battle that whole first half. And we officially hit the 2-minute warning. But again, if you couldn't join us early, I know the scoreboard says 50-0, but that first half was a lot more competitive than the initial score indicated. It was an 18-0 game at half, but a couple of those scores set up a short field position. Then that 18 mark was off a fake punt to make it 18-0. A couple of touchdowns, like I said, were kind of in the 30-yard range. Again, I think Minnesota generally today has done a nice job limiting big plays, but kind of in the second half, they've kind of went away from that just because of all the time on the field, you know, back-to-back drives, the missed onside kick recoveries. It just kind of spiraled from the other phases of the game. But again, if you're Minnesota, you've got to be, I think your defense should feel pretty good, even though with a 50 scoreboard. Again, football is a team game, no matter how you look at it. And if the other phases aren't working, it's going to put more on you, and they're going to ask you to step up some more. And at some point, a bend but don't break defense is going to break no matter how you sell it. But if you're Oklahoma, all three phases have been playing well. So they're going to pitch it to 23 and immediately broken up, as that should do it. Obviously, we'll give Oklahoma one more possession, but at 1:52 on the clock, imagine they won't do anything too crazy here. Again, if you're Minnesota, got a quick rally and regroup. Obviously, they get the bye week next week with Memorial Weekend not having to play. That'll help them recharge. For Oklahoma, they immediately will have to travel next week, play the Cedar Raptors. Then they will get their break on the 31st. So, much due reprieve for both teams coming up around the corner. They are in kneel-down formation. Or a victory formation, if you would. Again, season ago, Oklahoma got the victory, I believe 53-0, so 3 less points than a year ago. And Oklahoma really proving why they're a top team in the Division III level. Just looking for that push to get bumped up to Division II. Kind of saw that with the Nebraska Pride. Minx played them a season ago. Very strong team. They won the Division II championship and got bumped up to the Pro Division. So obviously you're hoping for that if you're Oklahoma. Max, make sure you got a pan left, dude. You're falling asleep on me. As we get the kneel down here. Apologize for that on air. I missed a mute. I've been trying to mute, communicating with camera ops. As we get the second kneel down here. We should need one more to wrap our game up. Before we say goodbyes, I will show you both team schedules, just what's coming up the rest of the way. Then we will send it out with a touchdown montage of all the scores. As well as shout out our production crew one more time.
Number 48, takes the knee.
And that should let the clock run down. And that'll do it. Again, clock continues to expire. 10 seconds left on the clock, but that'll pretty much do it here. Oklahoma honestly ran away with it in that second half. Unfortunately, a lot of things to like from Minnesota on defense, but we've got to get the offense and the special teams improving and looking to rebound. A lot of football season left, but again, you played a really tough game against a really tough team, and again, that first half was fantastic. It's just unfortunately couldn't get that to continue in the second half. Lots of turnovers, a lot of weird plays it started off with in the second half. So before we say our goodbyes, let's take a look at the Oklahoma schedule as they send their handshakes. Obviously, you can see coming up, they have Cedar Raptors at home, Austin at home, then wrapping out the regular season schedule on the 14th with a road date to the Iowa Phoenix. And for the Minnesota Minks, they will be off until the 31st, where they'll have a home date with the Iowa Phoenix, and then Midwest Mountain Lions will travel here, and then they'll wrap up their season taking on the Cedar Raptors in Iowa, excuse me. So let's give a shout out to our production crew really quick one more time. I'm Hunter Pinky doing a few things, and then want to thank our camera operators, Max Slocum, Ian Andersack, and every single one of you for joining us here on our broadcast this evening. Without your support, we would not be able to keep covering these games and keep doing what we're doing. So without the viewers, we would not be here. And again, consider supporting community TV at savecommunitytv.com. So we'll say our goodbyes and let the touchdown montage go. So thanks for joining us, everybody. This has been WFA Football on HCTV Sports. Snap. Quarterback keeper, and she's in for the touchdown. Takes a snap. Play action pass. Has a receiver, open lane. And she'll be in for the fumble at the goal line. But we'll see what the Rage decide to do here, as they'll take the punt with a little over a minute. Look at the pass. Hopkins throws a little wobbler picked off, and that's going to give the Rage great field position. 30-20, only the kicker to beat, and another touchdown. Colin looking the pass, looking for someone out in the flat, and picked off. And that's a touchdown. With people being mean to officials and making them not want to work the game. Back shoulder fade. What a grab. They will go for it here. Back out of the gun, one back in the backfield, three receivers near side of your screen. Looking to pass Eldridge, firing it deep. And there is some contact, and she still caught the ball, and she's gone. Looking to pass once again. Pressure and good protection and another grab. Great blocking downfield and another Oklahoma touchdown. Apologize, don't have the reader on me. Or you can check out the Minx social medias. That one's picked off by the Oklahoma Rage, and they're taking that one all the way back to the house. And that's a touchdown.